There are places in the world where time moves slowly, and others where it simply stops. In the winter of 1930, deep in the frozen wilderness of northern Canada, a lone trapper named Joe LaBelle pushed his canoe through thin sheets of ice, heading toward the small Inuit settlement of Anjikuni. He'd visited the village before. It was a quiet community, friendly faces, always a warm fire waiting. But on this day, as he approached the shore, he felt something off. The sky hung gray and heavy. The lake was silent. Not a single sound. No barking dogs, no laughter, no signs of life. From a distance, he saw the huts still standing, smoke faintly curling from one chimney. Everything looked normal, until he got closer. LaBelle called out. Once, twice. His voice echoed, unanswered. When he entered the first cabin, his breath caught in his chest. A pot of stew still hung over the fire, frozen solid mid-boil. A chair lay toppled on its side. A needle and thread rested on a half-sewn coat, as if someone had just stepped away. But no one was there. He checked the next hut, and the next. Every single home, abandoned but untouched. Clothes still hanging, rifles still on the wall, food on the tables, but not a single person. Then he saw them. The dogs. Dozens of sled dogs, still tied to their posts, frozen stiff. Their food sat untouched beside them. That was when fear began to creep in. Joe LaBelle ran from the village, heading miles across the tundra to the nearest telegraph office, where he sent an urgent message to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. An entire village has vanished. Within days, an RCMP team arrived at Lake Anjikuni. What they found would haunt them for decades. They confirmed the village was empty, but more disturbing were the graves. Several burial mounds behind the huts had been dug open. The bodies gone. The officers also noted the same strange details LaBelle had described. Open doors, half-cooked meals, and the dogs, dead from starvation despite food being available. It made no sense. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints leading away, nothing to explain where the villagers went. And then the reports started to spread, from trappers, travelers, and other locals around the region. They claimed that on the same night the village disappeared, strange blue lights danced across the northern sky. Some described them as glowing orbs, others as pulsating waves, brighter and faster than the aurora borealis. The newspapers went wild. Headlines called it the village that vanished overnight. Reporters speculated everything from alien abductions to mass hysteria. Even the police couldn't find a logical explanation. But soon, skeptics entered the picture. They argued that there had never been a permanent settlement at Lake Anjikuni, only a temporary fishing camp. They claimed Joe LaBelle's story had been exaggerated by reporters hungry for sensation. Others suggested that perhaps the villagers had simply migrated to a safer location. Winter in that region could kill even the strongest communities if food ran short. But that doesn't explain everything. The undisturbed supplies, the untouched weapons, and the uneaten food. If they'd left willingly, why abandon everything they needed to survive? Years later, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police publicly denied that any investigation had ever taken place. According to their archives, there were no reports, no documents, no case. Some say it was a bureaucratic oversight. Others believe the incident was quietly buried to avoid panic or embarrassment. But what is strange is that Joe LaBelle's name, the man who started it all, appears in several other records from that era. He was real. His travels were documented. But after 1930, he was never mentioned again. If the Anjikuni story was nothing more than a hoax, why did so many people claim to have seen the blue lights? If it was migration, why leave food, weapons, and graves behind? And if it was something else, what could erase a village overnight, leaving no trace at all? Some locals still swear that on clear nights you can hear faint echoes from across the frozen lake, distant voices carried by the wind, or the howls of dogs that aren't really there. Maybe it's just the wind. Or maybe, somewhere beneath that ice, Anjikuni still remembers what happened. The official story says nothing happened, but the land itself seems to disagree. One village, gone overnight. No evidence, no explanation. You've just listened to File 001, The Town That Disappeared Overnight. Next time on HUSHATLAS, we'll uncover a city that shouldn't exist, one that appears on no map, yet thousands claim to have visited.